The internal setup for Credo Technology that would have allowed it to see a very direct breakout, a very strong move, has failed. But the momentum is still up, the structure is still incomplete, and the potential is still there. So today I will share with you the exact path that I'm tracking for this stock to maybe even have a bottom in, to look for significantly higher prices and the exact levels it needs to hold for this to remain a reliable path to track in multiple timeframes. Welcome to the trade setup. So in the case of this stock, we really do have a few options. This idea of a larger impulse is not the only possibility, but even in those options, the pattern doesn't seem complete to me. So I would generally expect it to still see extensions to new highs in one way or the other. The main scenario, however, would right now remain for this to have either a wave 3 information, meaning I would be looking for another wave 1 up and a wave 2 down in this area. Yeah, this would imply a wave 3, 4, and a 5 to complete this pattern, expecting it to be taken beyond $1,300 in that interpretation. But at the very least, I would be looking for this to build something like an A, B, C structure, completing a larger leading diagonal in such an outcome. And I do see other interpretations, but this is what I will mostly be focusing on today. And regardless of these interpretations or the other ones, the setup that I'm tracking within a smaller time frame would be expected to hold the same levels of support. Right now, I believe a bottom could be in, and I believe we could be looking for this stock to rally quite strongly. But it needs to hold very specific levels of support, and there really is no room for error. Now, within this wave 3, primarily I will be focusing on this being a potential 1-2 setup, where I'm not exactly pleased. I don't have a high preference for a wave 1 to have a perfectly clear structure here. It would have really been ideal for it to have broken out much more directly, but it didn't happen. And we are looking at a 3-wave correction that seems to have taken place here, perfectly into the area of support for a wave 2, into its first level, the 38.2% retracement, and last week it has seen a bounce exactly from these levels. Well, this works out quite well with our general expectations of having shallow retracements within a large wave 3. It works out quite well with tracking this as a potential wave 1, having the reaction perfectly match the Fibonacci retracement level, and having 3 waves down in place within such a structure. Which means I am able to look for a bottom to be in, I am able to look for the reversal, and I'm initially looking for the first 5-wave move to the upside within a smaller time frame. I want to see strength, as this would be expected to be a wave 3. And surely it could manage to push to higher prices without starting with a very strong momentum. But given the structure we have internally developed in this move up, it is rather expected, as within this structure, I could maybe get away with tracking this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, and I would have an initial 5-wave move up within a wave 1, but then the wave 2 would already be expected to be in here, and this would be necessary to be tracked as a series of 1-2 setups. In this expectation, it needs to hold extremely high levels of support, and only as long as that happens can we really trust this to see a direct breakout. And if it fails, well, the implication is rather that this would have been no wave 3. This could have been maybe a wave A of a larger correction, but quite possibly an internal correction within an internal decline, where this move down would not be complete. Well, right now, the main implication is that this would have been the wave A down, this would have been the wave B, and this the wave C down. Well, technically, it would still be possible for me to consider the wave B had topped here, and this would be developing as an ending diagonal, in which case, one additional low would be required before having the structure complete, before having this wave C complete, this white wave 2 complete, and in that case, I would need to see certain levels of resistance broken before having the stronger indication that a bottom is indeed in. and those would go up to $239, the 61.8% retracement. That would be generally expected to be reached in such an ending diagonal interpretation. The wave 1 would overlap with the wave 4 in that scenario. But what if it doesn't stop there? What if it sees a stronger breakout? Well, in that outcome, I would come back to my main interpretation of having this as a potential series of 1-2 setups where we are looking for a lot of strength to be had within this move up, and it would line decently well with the rest of the market where, yes, quite strong extensions would remain a possibility. And in this outcome, where I even have to go in the very small time frame, the 5-minute time frame, basically nanostructures we are dealing with here, but I would have a series of 1-2 setups, and this would imply that we would be holding the latest levels of support for a correction within a wave 2, where in the pre-market we can already notice that we are looking at a breakout, but nothing would really change from a smaller time frame perspective, where I would still expect the levels of support, where maybe we can even consider the wave 1 top to have been here, but we mainly expect the levels of support extending down to about $225, maybe let's say $224.70 to hold. And if we see a sustained break below this level, the highest likelihood would suggest that we would see a break below the beginning of this entire wave 1 up, and this would suggest that this hyper bullish uptrend that would now be expected to materialize would rather see a failure. Now, this is not really the only possible outcome, and there is a sidestep scenario where the wave 1 would have topped here and all of this would have been part of a larger ABC pattern, a larger correction, in which case, if you really choose to, you can allow a deeper area of support that would really go as low as $219.50. But already, if we cannot see the momentum keep up, which in the pre-market is looking pretty good, right? $233. But if this cannot hold, we would be looking at weakness. We would be looking at a decently high risk that this entire structure will fail, that this stock will see a much larger decline, likely leading to prices below the current wave 3 bottom around $186. From the current levels, that would mean a drop of 20% and more. Now, it is not possible to know at this point in time if it will succeed or not, but we have clearly defined a couple of regions of support, and depending on the interpretation you prefer, an opportunity could be quite presentable here. After all, Credo Technology is a very, very good business. They are doing extremely well, and they haven't been repriced nearly as much as Astera Labs has been in the last rally. They are looking still at massive potential to be had, where only this internal white wave 3 could be expected to push into the $1,000 region, where the entire wave 3 could be expected to get beyond $1,300. So yes, we could be talking about more than a 5x in the case of this stock, more than a 5x within the internal wave 3 itself from the bottom of the wave 2. And to be clear, this is not financial advice. I do see this as a decently high-risk play, but most opportunities that contain such possible returns tend to be high-risk plays, tend to have a smaller likelihood of working out. And for now, I will stop here. If you want even more from me, you can check out the Patreon, but these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and if you enjoyed the content and want to support it directly, check out the channel membership, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.